He was a brutal killer and a persecutor of Christians or God's people. His name is Paul. Others knows him by the name of Saul. In today's session, Bible and Facts, we're gonna be looking at the life and history of this renowned Pharisee from the ancient Roman province known as Cilicia in the city of Tarsus. Paul was a significant leader and the theologian in the early church. His apostolic ministry and authority makes him one of the most important figures in the foundation of New Testament church. Paul wrote 13 or possibly 14 letters found in the Bible, especially in the New Testament. He was responsible for a significant amount of both geographical and ethnic expansion of the early church and Christian ministry. Paul was born most likely around 5 AD. He was given a Jewish name, that is Saul. He was born a Roman citizen and possibly was given a Gentile name, Paulus, at his very birth. He was born to a pure Jewish family from the tribe of Benjamin. Paul's father was a Pharisee and his family was most likely wealthy because his professionalism was tent making and trader, who also taught his trade to his son Paul. According to the Bible, in Acts 23:16, Paul had a sister and even her family. Paul was born in the city of Tarsus within the region of Cilicia. This region became a full Roman province after it was taken by General Pompey in 67 BC. Tarsus was the Roman capital due to its location near the sea, and it was surrounded by a fertile farmland to supply its citizens. During the life of Paul, the city enjoyed special status under the Roman government and developed into a center of education in the region of Cilicia. The primary export of Cilicia was a lining made from a locally grown flax and silicium, which was a fabric made from woven goat hair. Here, the family of Paul developed a successful business of making and selling tents from these materials. But before Paul was born, Cilicia was united with the region of Syria, and it remained united throughout Paul's life. At the age of 13, Paul learned his trade of tent making before moving on to a formal education. Even though Tarsus was a prestigious university, Paul was sent to Jerusalem to study the traditions of Judaism and being trained as a rabbi under a great Jewish teacher whose name was Gamaliel, who was a respected leader and highly sought after the teacher among the Jews. In this university, Paul's performance was incomparable. That made him being an excellent student because he excelled beyond that of his fellow students until to the point whereby he became well known among Jewish leaders in Jerusalem. By this reason, Paul became a strict Pharisee, which means that he was a strict observer of Old Testament law from the great zeal he had for the Jewish religion. This reason got Paul to the point whereby he viewed Christianity as a threat to Judaism, like many other Pharisees and Jewish leaders. Paul left Jerusalem after finishing the schools and returned to Tarsus. After a few years of working in Tarsus, Paul returns to Jerusalem shortly after the crucifixion of Jesus, possibly to investigate the Christianity. When he arrives in Jerusalem, Paul united with the Pharisees, who gave him a negative view of Christianity. This reason accelerated Paul's zeal for Judaism, which caused him to become a killer and persecutor of Christians and God's people. In order to protect Judaism, since Paul viewed the Christianity as a threat to Judaism and the perversion of the Jewish religion, Paul decided to destroy Christianity and overlook Christians. You all remember the stoning death of Stephen? Paul was seen at the very light scene assisting the Sanhedrin to stoning Stephen, according to Acts chapter 7. Stephen's death led to severe and more persecution of Christians. Paul then begins to hunt down Christians, lives in Jerusalem so that he can humiliate and punish them by dragging them from their homes, killing them, and put others in prison. Paul's persecution to Christians goes beyond to that point whereby he desired to kill the disciples of Jesus. He traveled in different cities as he arrested, killed, torture, and humiliating Christians. Here, Paul have heard of a Christian community lives in Damascus. He decided to go to kill them. After being given the permission from the high priest, he began to traveling all the road to Damascus. From Jerusalem to Damascus is 209 kilometers. So Paul was somewhere in between Jerusalem and Damascus when he met Jesus himself along the way. I encourage you to stay tuned on the Name Media TV for the second part of life and history of Paul. What did you talk with Jesus? What about his conversion, calling, and ministry, and his death?